The portal, dim at first, begins to glow brighter. The portal flashes briefly, then glows steadily. You have entered the plane of time. In the distance, an hourglass appears, the grains of sand falling methodically into place. As quickly as the image was formed, it dissipates. You have 1 hour left. After completing Phase 1, Seleucid Row says,
"This is absurd. Why are we wasting our time and energy on this? Direct action is needed now. Banishing Zebuk will not stop the mortals from entering into our planes. Their greed for power will have them soon trampling through our realms."
Ralos, Zeke says,
On this I agree. We must take action and the time is now. I will not have these mortals achieving the powers that we hold.
Fenenro says,
Calm yourselves. You need to appreciate the situation that is at hand.
Zaguni says,
Please listen to reason. We are doing what we must. The mortals possess a direct tie to Zebuk Sorokai. If his stasis is finished, their link will dwindle as well as their powers and knowledge.
Wraith says,
The knowledge that was given to them by Zebuk will fade from their minds. We must do this now, for if they were able to translate the divine language, all existence would unravel. The balance of power in the universe would be destroyed.
Seleucid Row says,
This is exactly the point that I am making. So you agree we must show them now that we are the power above them and not to be questioned.
Ralos, Zeke says,
You must see what he refers to. We must turn to Nareth and show them our power. What they are trying to accomplish cannot be allowed to come to pass.
Fenenro says,
My son, please understand. We must stop this advancement of mortals without halting their existence. The balance of power must be maintained. Without the mortals, the balance would fail.
Seleucid Row says,
So they have made your decision for you too, Father. You are all wrong. This will only bring them further into our realms seeking answers. We must take action now. Have at your foolish games. I will not allow them to obtain my power.
You look up and see a meteor burning through the sky. Seleucid returning to his tower to brood over the matters at hand. Ralos lets out a sigh of frustration that vibrates the ground at your feet. Wraith says,
Grow still, your warring heart. This is what must be done. We must place him in a stasis from which he will not be released. Come share your power. We must commence now.
Zaguni says,
Nathaniel, Karana, please record what you see here. With your good nature, I am sure that your records will be impartial to any side. We must record this for the ages and learn from our mistake of allowing Zebuk Sorok to gain so much power that is easily passed on to mortals.
With a sudden jolt, the wall comes into crystal clear focus. As the path before you opens up in a swirl of mystical energy, the faded image of an hourglass appears. You have 1 additional hour. After completing Phase 2, a bright aura streaks through the sky. The power of it sends a surge through your body that makes your hair stand on end. The triumvirate of water speaks as one voice. It says,
Now step up to the chambers. Give a part of yourselves to the bind on Zebuk. Through our power, the bonds on him will never be broken. He will be eternally placed in stasis.
Sauron says,
What of our weakened state? I refuse to return to my realm without the power to rule over my minions.
Terras Thule says,
Yes, how can I spread my touch over my lands if I lack so much of myself?
Kazakh Thule says,
Do not worry, daughter. We shall stay here until we are able to recover our strength.
Ralos, Zeke says,
Our armies shall serve us as we regenerate our ability. We have nothing to fear.
Bertoxulus says,
My soldiers of pestilence shall watch over us. Let us return to our chambers now.
Inaruk says,
Are you enjoying watching this hammer of the tribunal? I hope your petty report will show my disdain for the tribunal having no hand in this.
The 7th Hammer says,
Do not waste your energy in Norwalk. You know they are eternally preoccupied with their trials. Surely even you understand many of these trials exist because of the hate you instill into the population of Norrath.
Inaruk says,
Do not mock me. I shall seek you out after this is done and my power is restored. You will not be so smug after our next meeting.
With a sudden jolt, the wall comes into crystal clear focus. As the path before you opens up in a swirl of mystical energy, the faded image of an hourglass appears. You have an additional 1 hour and 15 minutes. After completing Phase 3, Terrace Thule says,
I am certain my warriors will have no problem holding back any intruders, but I have my doubts about the other armies.
Valen Zeke says,
Surely your armies are better than the regiments from our realm?
Talon Zeke says,
There is no question that our warriors of war and tactics will be the backbone of the army.
Sauron says,
It is no matter anyways. No mortal could ever ascend to this place. These precautions are unnecessary. Bringing them here was a waste of time.
With a sudden jolt, the wall comes into crystal clear focus. As the path before you opens up in a swirl of mystical energy, the faded image of an hourglass appears. You have 4 additional hours. After completing Phase 4, Ralos, Zeke says,
Something is wrong. I feel Talon and Valen's spirits have weakened.
Inaruk says,
Don't be a fool. That is just from giving a part of themselves to the bond on Zebuk-Suruk.
Kazakh Thule says,
No, it is more than that. I can feel the force of Terrace has been drained as well.
Toxilus says, This is not possible. Could mortals have reached us here? Call in our armies. We are too weak to fight now.
Inaruk says,
You are all incompetent. I knew you all could not be trusted. If we are defeated in our weakened state, I do not know if we will be able to coalesce again. I will never forgive you all for what has transpired today.
Ralos Zeke says,
Now is not the time to bicker. We must focus our strength on these puny mortals. Minions of the army, come to our sides. Your gods beckon you. We need you now.
With a sudden jolt, the wall comes into crystal clear focus. As the path before you opens up in a swirl of mystical energy, the faded image of an hourglass appears. You have 4 additional hours. After completing Phase 5, Fenanro says,
Impossible. How could the races of Norath have traveled this deep into the plains?
Zagoni says,
I regret that it has come to this. They leave us with little choice, however. We must fuse our powers together. Separately, we are weakened. Together, we will halt their advances.
Triumvirate of Water says,
Unfortunate as it may be, I agree. We must call upon the beast we swore would never be needed.
The Wraith says,
And let us begin. Let our abilities and powers meld into one. It shall be our final protector and savior, the only thing standing between us and non-existence.
Your head pounds from the amount of raw energy that begins to coalesce throughout the plane. Bright flashes of red, blue, green, and brown begin to come into focus on one single point. A large, towering beast begins to manifest itself. A horrible creation with all the powers from each elemental realm. Your body begins to shudder by the mere presence of this being. With a sudden jolt, the wall comes into crystal clear focus. As the path before you opens up in a swirl of mystical energy, the faded image of an hourglass appears. You have 2 additional hours. After completing Phase 6 and breaking out Zebuk-Suruk, Zebuk-Suruk staggers about and looks at you, drowsy from his weakened state.
My thanks to you. I am surprised to see you have made it here. We must get back to North. The time has come for me to share my knowledge. Something is coming, a threat to us all, and the sands in the hourglass are thinning. Make haste and take me back the way you came. I am surprised at the gods for taking such drastic measures, though I suppose all of the creations of the Nameless are capable of displaying poor judgment and irrational behavior. These gods are burdened with powers and responsibilities beyond our comprehension, yet at times even they do not understand the eventual effect of their actions. I am compelled to share the knowledge of the gods with the populace of North, so that I might save their creations. They do not realize that if mortality ceases to exist, if they are not worshipped and held aloft by the beliefs of those that they now have grown to fear, they will fall from power, and a new age of darkness will wash over existence as they know it. I did not seek to interfere with them or their realms, only to free them from a fate that awaits all of us. It is this fate that now stands ready, greedily gathered on the edge of the void, ready to test the will of all mortals. If they have taken measures, these extreme, I must rethink what I have done and what I will do, if there was this much cause for concern.
Suddenly, in a bright flash, a feminine figure appears before you. Your ears ring from the loud burst as she slowly materializes. Druzzle Rowe speaks with no movement of her mouth. Her thoughts flow through you, calming you as you begin to comprehend what she is trying to communicate to you. Druzzle Rowe speaks to your mind.
Zebuk-Saruk, my student, I cannot allow this to happen. If you were to escape from another prison, the will and power of the gods will have been compromised.
Zebuk-Saruk says,
Druzzle, I have missed you. Wasn't it you that taught me in your own realm to seek knowledge and share it in all forms?
Druzzle Rowe speaks to your mind.
That I did, but I also taught you not to share your wealth of knowledge if it would affect the fate of others. I cannot allow this to happen. I must set things back to how they were before you and these mortals arrived here. I believe that you cannot understand this, and I am sorry.
Druzzle Rowe looks upon Zebuk-Saruk one last time, as a wave of sadness comes across her gentle face. Druzzle Rowe begins to chant an incantation. Mana flows out from her body in all directions. Things begin moving slowly in reverse. You become dizzy from the experience and fall to your knees. As you look up, the last thing you can see is Druzzle Rowe smiling in your direction. She then waves her arms gracefully and points at you. There is a brilliant flash, and you find yourself displaced through time and space. For a moment, you lose touch with yourself. As you wake, you find yourself back in the plane of knowledge, moments after talking to Maylene with the information of retrieving the quintessence of elements. Druzzle has preserved the timeline and restored existence back to its normalcy. You have entered the plane of knowledge.